This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. Don't get Georgia prosecution fatigue. I know it's interesting just to focus on the civil fraud case that's trying to take Donald Trump's buildings and money and business acumen away from him. But we got a prosecution going on down in Georgia that's moving towards a trial of Donald Trump sooner rather than later. And the newest reporting that's coming out of the Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis's office is who she's dealing with and who she's not dealing with in terms of a plea bargain. And this should come as no surprise to anybody that watched the midweek edition of Legal AF. My co-anchor, Karen Freeman hit the nail right on the head on Wednesday in anticipation of the reporting a day or two later, out without us knowing anything, coming out of Georgia, that Fani Willis has no interest whatsoever at the present moment to have a plea negotiation discussion with Rudy Giuliani or John Eastman or even Mark Meadows.
I think it's going to be very, very, very powerful. I think, just as a rule of thumb that we always talk about, you as a prosecutor, you flip up, not down, meaning you flip the lower level people to get the upper level people. Like you wouldn't flip Donald Trump, for example, to get Jenna Ellis, right? That's not the case. And the people who say, yes, but these were all bad guys and everybody was bad, I view that slightly differently. Unlike other crimes where, like, say you have a big conspiracy to rob a jewelry store, everybody is in on it together. Even if there's a mastermind, everyone's in on it together and they're all going to benefit together. It's greed. They're all doing it for their own benefit and everyone's going to get a lot of money. This case is very different to me. This is more like a cult with a cult leader, because in cult cases, there's the people who go and follow the cult, blindly follow the cult leader. Yes, of course, there is some responsibility, but for that cult leader, these people would never have done these things, right? Although Giuliani, I put in a different category. Giuliani, I think, although he was respected, he was America's mayor, he was Southern District United States attorney who used RICO cases to bring down mob bosses in Wall Street and all that kind of stuff. There was always a side to him that was a narcissistic and ego-driven, and you saw aspects of it in all sorts of areas, including allegations by his first ex-wife and the way he would get these things with his kids. I mean, there was a clear, weird, just narcissist ego power trip that he had that I think he kept in check. And now he just unleashed it. Like he's being the person that he always was. So to me, I see the two of them different, and I would never flip either of them. And the two of them should absolutely, go on.
No, finish your thought.
No. And even Jeff Clark is another one who I think is kind of also deserves it. John Eastman, if John Eastman flips, I wouldn't give him the sweetheart deal the way the others got. But if John Eastman flips, John Eastman completely can diffuse this advice of counsel defense. And that's his main defense. So I would almost say it's worth it for him. But I wouldn't flip at least those three, if not, as you said, those four. Those are the worst ones. But go on.
The final four for me is Eastman, Trump, Clark, and Giuliani, all at a table together, being tried together. The rest of the people should just get the F out of the way and take the plea deals that are being offered. As Karen Freeman put on that clip, you flip up, not down. So you flip people below in order to get the people at the top, right? Sometimes it's referred to as prosecutorial bingo. And you try to fill your box and then yell bingo. Fani Willis is running out of a need to get others to cooperate with her. It'd be nice. It takes away from straining scarce judicial and prosecutorial resources. But as of right now, the new reporting is she has no interest in Rudy Giuliani or John Eastman, two more lawyers who are the architects of the cling to power and the attempt to stay in office and stop the peaceful transfer of power by Donald Trump. I said during our midweek Legal AF that this put, including especially the plea deal given to Jenna Ellis, who dumped all over Rudy Giuliani during her tearful reading of her apology in court. and talking about, oh, I was just misled by two older gentlemen, and I shouldn't. But it's all right, Jenna. You're now a felon, and you're on 5 years probation. But she went out of her way to dump on Rudy Giuliani. And at the time I said, Rudy, if he had a deal to make, he should make it. But I thought, as I said in prior hot takes, if I had to pick a final four that was going to be at the defense table for a trial, and probably just one trial, my final four is Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, and either Mark Meadows and or Jeff Clark. That's my group right there. Jeff Clark, the head of the department. Sorry, I almost said he was the head of the Department of Justice. The number 7 in line of the Department of Justice, who decided he wanted to write a letter to seize voting machines and claim there was voter fraud in the election and stop the electoral count from happening. That Jeff Clark. John Eastman, a sort of the Mr. Magoo of constitutional law scholars, who came up with this crazy idea that even he didn't believe, based on secret recordings and testimony, that you could use a pressure campaign and fake electors and pressure Mike Pence not to certify the election and then turn it over to each state house to pick Donald Trump as president. That guy, who's been fighting tooth and nail. He fought with the Jan 6 committee against turning over his emails, and they had to go to a federal court to force him to do it. He fought with the federal prosecutors about things that he said were covered by the attorney-client privilege. They had to strip the attorney-client privilege away from Donald Trump and John Eastman to do it. He fought here. You keep fighting the law, eventually the law is going to win. And that's what you're seeing. And what Fani Willis is signaling is, if you're not named Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, Mark Meadows, and probably Jeffrey Clark, come on down and talk to me about a potential plea deal. You'll probably get a felony at this point as a plea, but I'll give you probation. And if you're a first-time offender, you'll be able to expunge your record. That's a little known reporting there. These people are all first-time offenders, and in 5 years, if they color in the, they stay in the lines and color in the lines and follow the terms of their release, they can have it expunged. Already, people are jumping off sides, right? You've got Sidney Powell, who came out and said, I was coerced into signing that deal. That's not the level of cooperation. That's coloring outside the lines. Ken Chesebro's lawyer took to the airwaves immediately after and said, he doesn't have anything that'll be of any value to anybody. I don't know why he'd be called as a witness. I don't know why all of my impersonations and accents, especially for people in Georgia, come out sounding like Foghorn Leghorn from the Warner Brothers cartoon. You can look it up. I don't know why, but it seems to fit. You can't undermine your plea deal by then, after you sign it, saying that you had no intention of really signing it, you're not really guilty. You can't do that. So we'll watch to see what happens. But if Fani Willis hangs in there and digs in her heels, there will be a trial in 2024 before the November election. It will be in Georgia, and it will be Donald Trump in some combination of John Eastman, Rudy Giuliani, and maybe Jeffrey Clark. And that may be an ideal grouping. If you're going to try, if you had the dream case that you wanted to draw up as Fani Willis, now I'm talking as a 32-year defense lawyer. My dream team that I'd want to put in front of the jury one time, put on witnesses just once, put on the evidence just once, would start with Donald Trump in the middle, and then his lead co-conspirators as spokes around that hub, like a big bicycle wheel, which is how conspiracies are often described. The T in the middle, and the G, the E, the C, and the M all around it, right? Here's my graphic. We spare no expense in the MeidasTouch network in terms of our production values and our drawings. So you'd have Clark, Eastman, Giuliani, and Meadows, and Trump, and none of them are represented by the same lawyer or by a lawyer paid for by Donald Trump. That's been a problem for Donald Trump in Georgia. He's either running out of money or desire to control the outcome, so he doesn't hire these people, lawyers, or he's worried that Jack Smith will continue to look at obstruction of justice in Donald Trump trying to play a puppet master by hiring all these people lawyers. Rudy Giuliani, for instance, didn't pay his lawyer over $1 million and just hired a new one literally 2 days ago, a guy you've never heard of. John Eastman, I believe, has a lawyer, but he's been very, very quiet. Jeffrey Clark has been basically his own lawyer, and that has failed him miserably, as it did when he was in the Department of Justice, including losing terribly a hearing in front of Judge Stephen Jones, got tongue-tied there for a minute, in the Northern District of Georgia when he tried to get his case out of state court into federal court. And Mark Meadows has the strongest lawyer of all of them, Mr. Terwilliger. But Mr. Terwilliger hasn't done great shakes either in negotiating his client through the thicket of Georgia prosecutions. And then Donald Trump, his outside counsel is a guy that joined in August, a guy named John Lauro, a guy that joined 2 months earlier named Todd Blanche. They're both in two-person shops. And then they hired a guy named Steve Sadow in Georgia. So it's like 5 people in total against about 50 prosecutors. If you add in the 2 state and federal, 75 prosecutors, 94 felony counts, and the resources of the United States of America. That's like, as I've said in past podcasts and hot takes, Bambi versus Godzilla. And so that's where we are with the reporting. Fani Willis has interest in offering deals to somebody like Mike Roman, some lower level lawyers like Ray Smith, but she's not going to cut a deal that's going to be worthwhile at the given time to Giuliani, Eastman, Clark, or Meadows, because she's got enough evidence to convict those guys, and they better come in and start singing at the top of their lungs against Donald Trump and tell the truth, or she's not going to cut the deal. And she wants that out there now to pressure them. We'll continue to follow what happens in Fulton County, Georgia, so you don't get Fulton County fatigue. Don't get that. Don't get fatigued by justice. And we'll continue to follow it here on the MeidasTouch Network on this YouTube station, and only in this YouTube station. That's where I do my podcasting. That's where I do my hot takes. Every Wednesday and Saturdays, we pull it all together in the leading podcast devoted to law, politics, and justice. We call it, wait for it, Legal AF. Yes, it's exactly what you thought it was. And then we put it on our audio podcast platforms, wherever you get your audio podcasts from Apple, Spotify, Google, and the like. If you like this kind of hot take, where we don't blow smoke or sunshine, we just give you the straight analysis as a longtime practicing lawyer, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. And then until my next hot take, till my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.